Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janabalaba Girivardhari Gopi Janabalaba Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Tanna Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone said. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone said, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Everyone, Hare Ram, Hare. Everyone again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Again, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Ram Ram. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Jayam Vishnupad Paramansa Parikvachakachara Jostatara Satasi Sivan, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi ki jai. His confounded charge of Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prem Sikho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shaimakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sri Navadip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Gangamayi ki jai. Jamunamayi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Nitai Gaur Premanande Hare Bom. Total party, but warm, not cold. I need some water, but not cold. Yeah. Yes. Yes, please.
सबके लिए सूचना है कि 92 FM में इसका अनुवाद होगा, तो जो भक्त अपने मोबाइल से ट्यून कर सकते हैं 92 डिग्री FM में, उसमें ट्यून कर सकते हैं, हिंदी अनुवाद उसमें प्राप्त हो सकता है। पीछे वैसे अनुवाद हो रहा है, लेकिन साथ साथ FM में भी उपलब्ध हो सकता है, आप लोग उसका फायदा उठा सकते हैं। हरे कृष्ण।
Where will you sit? I want to be able to see you.
Sitting right to your left, where I can see the rest.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sarvani Madhisna excuse me. Sarvani Madhisna Taya Bhavadbhis. Sharani Bhutani Sutta Dhruvani. Sambhavatavyani Pade Padevo. Vivikta Drigbhis Taruharsa Aname. Any Matajis like to chant? Sarvani, all, Maddisyataya, because of being my sitting place, Bhavadbis, by you, Charani, that move, Bhutani, living entities, Sutta, my dear sons, Dhruvani, that do not move, Sambhavitavyani. This is actually amazing what Rishabhdev Maharaj is saying. It's quite amazing. For Sarvani, all, Maddisyataya, because of being my sitting place, Bhavatani, by you. He's talking to his sons. By you, because all living entities, every living entity, not only human beings, but all living entities, including dogs and cats and monkeys and little tiny, I don't know how to, I can say it in Bengali, pipra. How do you say in Hindi? Ant. Chidi. Chiti. They all have, they should be respected. That's the point that's going to be. Sambhavitavyani are supposed to be respected, not exactly because of their bodies, but because Krishna is in their hearts. He said because their body is the sitting place of me. And therefore everyone should be respected. And the next word, pade pade, at every moment, every living entity should be respected because I am in their hearts. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam, would you say, Arjuna? Tisiti. So, this verse, if adopted, this one verse has so much transcendental knowledge in it. If the world would adopt it, there would be so much, the world would be peaceful, and all the sectarian violence, the inter-religious violence, the intercommunal violence, the I don't like this one and I don't like that one, the personal violence between living entities, even in the same family, it would all be removed. And pade, who remembers what pade means? At every moment. Oh yes, one of the rules of this class is you have to raise your hand. And this temple room is so nice, it has so many corners that if you don't raise your hand, I will put you in the corner. And there's so many corners. So at every moment, and actually in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, Krishna himself, while speaking to Uddhava, says this is the best sadhana to offer one's obeisances to every living entity, regardless of their body. Now, how humble you would have to be, how devoid of pride you'd have to be to actually follow this, to respect not just one time, but at every moment, every living entity, those whose modes of material nature agree with your modes, and those whose modes of material nature disagree with your modes. How are you? This is such a high platform of realization. And Krishna says to Uddhava, this will please me more than anything else. Because you have to be free from envy to do this. And envy begins, Krishna Bhule se Jeev Anadiya Bahimo. It begins with our envy of Krishna. And it manifests in our inability to get along with anyone. This is the nature of Kali Yuga. No one can get along with anyone. There's argument and strife. This is the age of quarrel. And there is quarrel everywhere. Because, why? It's because everyone thinks that I am so wonderful, I am so proud. I mean, no one thinks I am so proud, but everyone thinks that that why should anyone tell me what to do? I'm the one who has to judge everything. I trust myself. Did anyone of you ever hear anyone say that? I only trust myself? Let's see if I can trick anyone into speaking out without raising their hand. Did anyone ever hear anyone say that? I only trust myself. Yes, okay, thank you very much. Now I made everyone afraid. But this is the nature of Maya. Because who has given you more trouble with your mind than any other person? Our mind has given ourselves more trouble than anyone else, and yet we say we only trust ourselves, which means we trust our mind. Anyway, this wonderful verse. So, va bayu, vivikta, drigbi, possessing clear vision and understanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in His Paramatma feature, is situated everywhere. Tatu, that indirectly, ha, certainly, arhanam, offering respect, me, unto me. So here, Lord Rishabhdev is saying that this is how to respect me, is by respecting all living entities. So when we ask, if we want to find out how we are advancing in Krishna consciousness, we can use this test to see how much we are respecting all living entities. And then we will know how much we are respecting Krishna. If you think I have this enemy and 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 this enemy, and I don't like this one and I wish this one harm, this means that we're disrespecting Krishna, and we need to, it's in our interest to advance. So here's Prabhupada's translation. Now I will give you a warning that as soon as I read this, finish this translation, I'm going to ask you, what do you remember? Very difficult question. But then I may even ask you a more difficult question. What do you remember from yesterday's class? But please listen carefully. But you have to, when I ask the question, you have to raise your hand. And I may call on you first. What's your name? Rama. Okay. So I may call on you first. So listen carefully. Okay. And how old are you, Rama? Huh? 13. How old would you, if you could be any age you want, how old would you like to be? Huh? Stay at this age. Anyway, if I could be any age I wouldn't want to stay at this age. Because this age it hurts in so many places. Do you know that one day your body is gonna get old? Did you know that? So what do you learn from that? What do you think about that? Because when you're 13, it's difficult to believe, in one sense, that one day you're going to be 73. If you're lucky. So what could you learn from that? Think.
Sacrifice myself in Krishna consciousness.
Yes. But that's the correct answer, maybe. You think that's the correct answer. But what do you really think you can learn from that?
The pain in Kali Yuga. The pain in Kali Yuga.
That there's pain in Kali Yuga, yeah. So we should be careful how we use our life and use our time. Because, do you know that I was once 13? And you know that?
Yes.
Yes. And when I was 13, I never had heard of the Bhagavad Gita. And I was a bit naughty. And now when you're old, you have to pay for all the naughty things you do when you're young.
Yes.
So right now you should really try to use your young age to become strong in your body and become pure in your mind. And are you doing well in school?
Yeah.
Oh, good. And are your parents happy with you? and Radhapata Sarti happy with you? What do you think?
Maybe.
Maybe. How would you know? If you wanted to know, how would you know?
By just praying.
By?
By praying. Praying.
But how would you know if they're happy with you? Now this question is relevant to me also. How would you know? What's your name? Come. Why are you sitting in the back? There's one more over here. Come. I've been waiting for you. And how old are you? 10. 10. If you wrestle him, who would win? How do you know if Radhapata Sarti is happy with you? No one wants to raise their hand. Yes, go ahead.
If devotees are happy with me, my spiritual master is happy with me,
Yes.
then...
A good answer. Yes, any more? Yes. But that means you have to, because what is your name?
Amarendra.
Amarendra. If we respect all living entities at all times, but that means you have to be very thoughtful and watch your own mind to see if you're actually doing that or just able to repeat that.
Yes.
Yes. And one has to be very, very honest, at least with oneself. But if I ask you, how many of you think that Krishna is pleased with you? Of course, no one would raise their hand. Now, I also would not raise my hand. Yeah. Sometimes I think that if Prabhupada were personally to walk here, that I would hide, basically. I'd be so embarrassed to present my face in front of him. One time, actually, in Hong Kong, Prabhupada had come to Hong Kong, And he said, get me a Bhagavad Gita. And we had put Prabhupada in a hotel, the Hong Kong Hilton, the very, very, very high-class room, and he was very happy with that. But because I didn't bring the books with us, when he asked me for the Bhagavad Gita, I said, we don't have it here. And he looked at me and said, what do you have? Only your face. You're all laughing. I wasn't laughing at all when he said that. Oh, I wasn't laughing at all. Anyway, my dear sons, please repeat.
My dear sons,
you should not envy any living entity.
you should not envy any living entity,
Be he moving or non-moving,
moving or not moving,
knowing that I, meaning Rishabdev Maharaj is saying this, that I am situated in them,
but I am situated in them.
you should offer respect to all of them
You should offer respect to all of them
at every moment.
at every moment.
So in the Sanskrit, what is the word for at every moment? Okay, there's still not enough corners. Yes. Thank you very much. What is your name? Thank you. Thank you very much. He raised his hand. What a good boy. He should get a sweet, maybe even 2 sweets. I tricked all the rest of you, but don't fall for my trick again. In this way,
In this way,
please repeat, in this way, you offer respect to me. Okay. Who remembers something from this verse? Please raise your hands. Yes, Prabhu. Okay, thank you. My dear sons, you should not envy any living entity. Thank you. Anyone remember anything else? Mataji, you raised your hand so quickly. I am in this way you will offer, yes, because I am in them. Yes, that was there. Thank you very much. Anyone else remember something? Yes. Yes. What is it called, according to Kapila Muni's teachings, when someone worships the deity but does not respect the devotees or other living entities? Please raise your hand. What is that called? Yes, and what is another word for that? Bhakta? Prakrita Bhakta. Thank you, Paul. And another word? You've gone to English, yes? Neophyte, it is such a good English word because there's the neo and then there's the fight. There's always fight. Another thing that Prabhupada once told me is that, no, he didn't. Oh yes, it wasn't to me, it was actually one Mataji, I can't remember her name right now, but an old disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and in the Delhi temple, in the early days it was so austere we practically can't imagine how it was, and for the Westerners especially. And she and the devotees were always fighting with each other. So she came to Prabhupada, because in those days Prabhupada's door was open. And she came to Prabhupada and said, I can't take it anymore. It's so difficult. The devotees are always fighting with each other. And Prabhupada said, if there's a fight amongst devotees, both devotees are at fault. Because it means both are not humble enough. So when I heard her say this, it was very difficult for me to even understand exactly what Prabhupada meant. And I had to think about it because, and that's really one of the keys if you want to read Prabhupada's books or listen to Prabhupada's lectures or really study Shastra or hear from so many of the very exalted followers of Prabhupada, one has to become thoughtful and think about the instructions and think about them deeply. And not only that, if you have any questions, it is good to have questions. We should write them down and then ask some devotee who we trust and ask them, I have this question. And it's such a nice way to associate with devotees, to ask them philosophical questions. Or such a nice way to associate. So anyway, when I thought about it, I could understand what Prabhupada meant was that you can't fight if there's only one person fighting. If one person says, I'm not going to fight, then there can't be a fight. So the question is, who's going to be the Mahabhagavata? You should be, not me. Another time, this was Prabhupada with me directly. We were in Japan. Not we were in Japan. Prabhupada was in Japan, and I had gone with him from Hong Kong. And I remember that it was raining, and the roof of the Japanese house was very, very long. So we were walking underneath the roof to avoid the rain. And at this time, there was one devotee who was going to go to the Philippines to open up a temple, and he was going to go alone. Now, you can see the spirit just by this part of what Prabhupada infused us. What is the Hindi word for infuse? Like when you put sugar into lemonade or something, or some tea. What is the Milan? That means like mixing Milan together. But there's another word that okay. Wow. Thank you. This is a very good one. That's what Prabhupada did, Shakti Sanchar. He gave everyone the spirit for preaching. So this one devotee, sannyasi, he was going to go alone to a country where he did not know one person and start spreading Krishna consciousness. This is Prabhupada's Shakti Sanchar. So I didn't think it was a good idea that he go alone, because it's so difficult to do this kind of, you have to, unless you learn how to depend on Krishna, you will not survive. Unless you really deeply depend on Krishna, you will not survive in this kind of circumstance. So I thought that another devotee should go with him, and I had suggested to Prabhupada that one devotee go with him, and Prabhupada, it wasn't a good choice because I didn't know the person very well. And then Prabhupada, while we were walking, as the rain was falling and I was behind Prabhupada, he said, this other sannyasi, maybe he could go with this first sannyasi. Now, and I didn't think it was a good idea because I knew both of them very well. Now, how am I going to say no to Prabhupada? That I didn't think was a good idea. But he asked me, so what should I do? So I said, no, I don't think it's a good idea. And what do you think Prabhupada said? Raise your hand. What do you think Prabhupada said? I'll call on the first person who raises their hand. Oh, he raised his hand, but it was to the deities. He raised two hands even. But, yes, Prabhu. I was in Hong Kong. What do you think he said? No one is in a brave mood. You raised your hand. I saw you did it. You were scratching your head, but you raised your hand. What do you think Prabhupada said? I said no. What do you think he said? If you have an idea, yes. No, he didn't say that, because I was already... He must have, but he didn't. That's what I was thinking. But what do you think he responded to me when I said, I don't think it's a good idea? What do you think he said? What? No.
I think you are right.
No, we're not doing very well right today. Yes. I didn't ask for your advice, no. Now this will shock you. He said, why? He suggested one person, and I said, no, I don't think it's a good idea. And he said, why? What a perfect answer. He asked me why. He wanted to hear why I didn't think it was a good idea. Now, how was I going to explain to Prabhupada, because both of them were very, very strong personalities, both these sannyasis. So how would I say that to Prabhupada? So I said, I think they would have a difficult time deciding who would surrender to who. And how do you think Prabhupada replied? Rama, is that your mobile phone? Huh? Okay. Now he said, and please listen carefully, he said, it doesn't make a difference who surrenders to who. In other words, who is going to act in such a way that Krishna is pleased? Who is going to act in such a way that Krishna is pleased? And that is called sharanagati, surrendering, going back to our actual position in life. The position of the soul is to act in such a way that Krishna is pleased. Because the very nature of ahankara, or false ego, and soon as we, Krishna Bhule Se Jiva Nadir Bahimukh, soon as we turn our back on Krishna, that means turning our back on our relationship with Krishna. And what is our relationship with Krishna? We are his servants. Jivera Sarupoi Krishna Nitya Das. And if we turn our back on Krishna, there must be an emptiness in our heart. There must be a feeling of something is missing. And the materialistic, before we even have a materialistic mind, we need a ahankara. So the first thing the conditioned soul is given is a ahankara, a sense of false ego, we say in English. But it means a sense of who I am, other than I am Krishna's. I am meant for Krishna's pleasure. This is ahankara. And then based on ahankara, and you see this in the third canto of the Bhagavatam, the whole material creation is based on ahankara combining with sattva-gun, rajagun, and tamagun. The whole material creation is based on ahankara. False sense of who I am. So, who should surrender to who? It doesn't make a difference. Prabhupada was saying that if you act to please Krishna, if you put Krishna's pleasure first, and use that as the way to discriminate between how I should act and how I shouldn't act, then one is really on the road to prema bhakti. Now, because that's Sharanagati, surrender is the gateway to bhakti. And even Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung that if you are a Sharanagata devotee, Gotripte Varanam Tata, then that means you're thinking of yourself as I am Krishna's. How can I please you? And that pade at every moment is so important. And you can't do that mechanically. From now on, I'm going to treat all people, with all living entities, with respect. per day, at every moment. There will be, if you take that vow, one good thing will happen to you is you'll become humble. It's because you realize you are not in control of your mind. And you look at if you say that you're offering respect to Krishna, if Krishna is saying you're offering respect to me by respecting all living entities, if you turn that the other way, and if you don't offer respect to every living entity, it means that you're disrespecting Krishna. So that's very heavy. Very heavy. So when we try to live up to this very high standard, we become very humble. We become humiliated first, and then we become humble. But I think when you're young, like these young boys too, you should try to just go and do something for Krishna. Try to do something nice. You don't have to think about these kind of things so much. But of course you should listen to your parents and those who have so much love for you, and the senior and the devotees. But you should try and do something for Krishna. What would you like to do for Krishna? Painting. Wow. What would you like to paint for Krishna? Krishna? Yeah, but what scene? What would you like to see Krishna doing in your painting? Playing the flute. Very nice. And you? What would you like to do for Krishna? Kirtan. Do you play instruments or do you like to sing? Do you know how to play in such a way that Krishna will be pleased? You try to play in such a way that Krishna will be pleased. And how to do that? It is something to meditate upon. Like right now, I'm giving class. Now, I'm speaking. So, this is a meditation. How can I speak in such a way that Krishna will be pleased? Not to please so that everyone will think, oh, he's given such a nice class. But whatever service we do, we should think of doing it in such a way, whether it's sweeping the floor, or offering the arti, or painting for Krishna, or playing the mridanga for Krishna, or what would you like to do for Krishna? Harmonium. Do you know how to play? Are you practicing? If you want to learn how to play the harmonium for Krishna, and if you want to learn how to play the drum for Krishna, and if you want to learn how to paint for Krishna, you have to do it very expertly. So you should practice. But when you're practicing, you should think of that I'm practicing for Krishna. That is called sadhana. When we're chanting our rounds, when we're looking at the Bhagavatam, when we're doing whatever service we do, it is our sadhana. This is our offering to Krishna. Now, when I saw the verse that I didn't really do very well in reading the purport, so Srila Prabhupada's purport. So please tomorrow can give a real class on this verse, whoever is giving the class. But I had who knows, this is what I thought I should speak on. Who knows what canto we're speaking on? We'll start with easy one. Raise your hand. Yes. Thank you. And who is speaking here? Yes. Lord Rishabdev. And who is he speaking to? His sons. How many sons? 100 sons. And who has heard most of the classes in this chapter? Raise your hand if you've heard most of the verses. Not one person wants to admit it. Who has heard? Who knows what this chapter is about? No one will, because then I'll ask you, and then you'll... This chapter is so important for so many reasons, and it's almost over now. will you permit me to just speak a little bit about the flow of the ideas in this chapter? In this chapter, the first verse is most famous, and Prabhupada lectured on the first verse almost more than any other verse in the Bhagavatam. And what is that verse? Prabhu. Oh, raise your hand. And I'll, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Who'll say the verse? Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Brahma Sokyam Tvarantam. In other words, thank you, that this verse is explaining that a human being is different from an animal and he should use his life to achieve Brahma Sokyam, unending Tvarantam bliss, not Arhati Vidbhujamye, to find pleasure that Arhati means deserving, that a hog or a dog. So this verse, in some senses, when later on in the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, it describes the whole universe. When everyone thinks of the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, we think of the universe and how difficult it is to understand exactly what this universe is. So there is the explanation of the universe in the 5th canto, but also it's, in some senses, it's a purport on this first verse, because it shows from the highest planet to the lowest planet, where Bali Maharaj speaks in the 5th canto, to the middle planets, when there's so many persons speak. The thing that is to be gained, is bhakti. Whatever position one is in, devotion to Krishna is to be gained. And then after Rishadev Maharaj explains this, he explains some more philosophy. And then he tells his sons something. What does he tell his sons how to act? Does anyone remember? Raise your hand. Who? Yes. Listen to Bharat. Thank you. You should listen to Bharat, the eldest son. And he specifically wanted that. The Supreme Lord is telling them to do that. And then what does he say? Does Bharat become a dictator and he can do whatever he wants then? No. He says that Bharat, the king, should listen to who? The Brahmanas. And then he says that the best of the Brahmanas are the Brahmin Vaishnavas. Now, why is a Brahmin Vaishnava suitable for advising a king? Is because they have to know Shastra. This is the essence of being a Brahmana Vaishnava, who is capable of giving advice, is they have to know Shastra. Why? Why is that so important? It's because when someone asks you for advice, and this is why the Brahmins were the advisors, when someone asks you for advice, you're not going to give advice just from your mind. You're going to give advice reference from Shastra. And you have to know the whole, so much Shastra, because if you know just one little part, then you'll give just one little part. The Shastra may say something here and something there and something there and something there, and you have to know the whole range of Shastra so you can give them mature advice. I hope I'm making myself clear. And so the king listens to the Brahmins, and then the Brahmins listen. They have Shastra. And then where does Shastra come from? It's the words of Krishna, or the most exalted devotees of Krishna. Yes, but I just answered the question. Unless you want to give another idea. Yes, thank you. So Shastra comes from Krishna. So in other words, this is the process that society can be run in such a way that the society is run according to Krishna's desires, according to Krishna's advice. So that's what this chapter is about. And the essential advice is to use your life properly. And yes, and there's so much more in the 5th canto, because then Bharat Maharaj becomes Jad Bharat, and when Jad Bharat preaches to who? Bhurijana Maharaj. What advice does he give him? What does he tell him? Basically what he's heard from Rishabdev as Bharat Maharaj. So the Bhagavatam is we should study it deeply. And we should think about it. And when we have questions, we should ask those questions. But we shouldn't ask those questions now because I've already gone over the time. So thank you very much for your patient listening. And yes, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Mother Parthasarati ki jai, and Sisi Gonatai ki jai, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, and Lord Nrsimhadev ki jai, and Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Hare Krishna.